Hey guys, it's me Sujoy over here. Welcome back to another video. So, on this video, I'm going to be talking about is it becoming harder to get an English teaching job in Vietnam? So, if you're new to my channel, the name of my channel is called the Sujoy in Vietnam. I've been living in Vietnam for over 7 years. I was an English teacher before for 4.5 years. Then I started my online digital marketing online business, and I'm also a full time YouTuber. So if you're new to my channel, welcome to my channel. And if you have not yet subscribed to my channel, it takes less than 2 seconds to hit the subscribe button, and that way you can support my work. So let me just have a bit of my warm honey lemon tea. Okay. Okay, so I'm actually making this video because I keep on getting a couple of my I keep on getting these comments from some non-native, especially from non-native countries like India. They want to teach English in Vietnam, and and also I get some emails on my business email that like they want to teach English in Vietnam, and what are the requirements, like, and somebody's planning to some couples from India, they're planning to go to Vietnam to teach English, even though they don't have a confirmed job, right? And I actually wouldn't recommend doing that. See, I'll be very honest with you. I'm giving you straight up answer because I have taught English in Vietnam for over 4.5 years. I've taught in public schools. I've taught in public schools for 2 years, and then of course I was teaching in different language centers, and of course I also had my my private tutoring business, Learn English Vietnam. Now, honestly speaking, I don't want to be discouraging you, but it's kind of becoming harder and harder to get English teaching jobs in Southeast Asia. I'm going to be specifically talking about Vietnam, um, especially if you're a non-native teacher, and if you're from India, um, it's going to be difficult for you. Um, because the golden days, like 2015, 2016, there were the golden days, those times. Even I think 2017, you didn't have to. I knew teachers, they didn't even have a bachelor's degree, and then they would be teaching in schools. So it was a bit easier during those times, and actually I entered the market in the right time, the teaching market in the right time. This was back in 2016, because I came December 2015. I remember I did my 4 weeks intensive in-house classroom TESOL training program. It was difficult, but I passed out of it, and I had to wait for 2 weeks to get an English teaching job in Vietnam because I was not a native teacher. I hold an Indian passport. I am from India, even though I have an American bachelor's degree. Um, and of course, I had that neutral American accent going around. But the fact that, I had an Indian passport, it was a bit challenging for me. And, all my other batchmates, they were from native countries. They were like from UK, US, Australia. They got a job very quickly. I would say within a few days of finishing the TESOL program, they got the job, and with good language centers. Um, and of course, I'm actually keeping track of all these, of the education, of the teaching environment right now in Vietnam, and I can tell you right now it's becoming very difficult. And I heard from some sources, is that teaching English is not going to be a mandatory thing for students, for Vietnamese students, especially when they're in the high school. Because I remember I used to teach grade 10, grade 11 in three different public high schools for 2 years. Um, so if you are um, and now, the sad reality is that there are more teachers than ever before looking for jobs, English teaching jobs, especially full time positions. Um, yes, you can join these Facebook groups, like Teaching English in Vietnam and all these different Facebook groups. But honestly speaking, it's kind of a bit toxic if you're a non-native, and if you're going to be just posting yourself on those Facebook groups. There could be some people targeting you on that post and making fun of you, or just because you're not a native teacher and just because you're not a white teacher. So those kind of discrimination practices goes on in on these Facebook groups, and that's the reason why you can directly get in touch with the recruiter who's actually posting something, a teaching requirement on these Facebook groups. But honestly speaking, I used to use a couple of these Facebook groups, but they were not get. I mean, it's not guaranteed to give you any full time position. Um, yes, it's great if you want to cover some classes, if you want to make some quick money, if you want to do some substitute teaching, you can join these different Facebook groups. You can reach out to the recruiters, and they can, and if everything is okay, then they can give you some schedule. It's like an indirect transaction which you're doing. It's like they will pay you in cash. I've done this before. I think this was back in, um, when I had my private tutoring business. I also did part-time shadow teaching, so I did a lot of substitute teaching as well to make some extra money. You don't need. I didn't have to open any bank account or anything like that, and just finish, and then I would just go to the office, and then they would give me the cash. That's how it worked. And of course, when I was teaching these public schools, I always got my salary in cash. I did not even have a local bank account or whatever. I didn't even have a work permit. So those were the golden days, like back in 2016, 2017. I would even say 2018. But, as laws have changed, that we didn't have we didn't have those requirements that time, that if you're a non-native teacher, you have to give a TOEIC or you have to give an IELTS certificate or whatever. So the demand was very good. I mean, I entered the market at the right time. Um, Although I had to wait for 2 to 3 weeks to get my first teaching job, and it was like teaching in public schools using the blackboard chalks. So I didn't get hired by a proper language center or a good language center, and I had to teach a bit far away distance from Ho Chi Minh City. So I mean, I'm just giving you my personal opinion. Like, many of you, like especially teachers from non-native countries, and also some of my fellow Indians, they're looking for teaching opportunities in Vietnam. I can tell you right now, I don't think that's the best option for you, especially if you, like, for a guy like me. I have an American bachelor's degree, and that kind of helped me to get that recognition to start teaching in some of these public schools. And of course, I did some part-time teaching with some language centers just because I had the American degree. So, but now it's kind of difficult. And I think, if you are looking to, become an English teacher, and if you want to teach in Vietnam, and if you think it's going to be very easy, you may like to have a second thought about it, right? I mean, there are other markets, like, you may like to look into teaching English in in some emerging markets, or maybe you can look into teaching English in Cambodia or China or maybe Indonesia or some other locations. But it's kind of becoming difficult right now. I mean, even for native teachers, like I said, there are more teachers than ever before now applying for English teaching jobs. And there are many jobless teachers in Vietnam as of now, as I'm speaking. They're applying for English teaching jobs, or maybe they're doing some cover teaching, but it's not a full-time teaching position. I mean, there's no stability, right? So I think teaching English, like the way I see it, is like 2026 is going to be much harder. And of course, like there are also Vietnamese schools, like they may think like, and of course now the younger generation Vietnamese, they speak very good English, and they're taking up English teaching jobs, and they can do it half the cost what the school is actually paying to the foreign teacher. So like if a foreign teacher is getting a salary of like 25 million or 30 million Vietnam dong, that school can actually hire a Vietnamese teacher who can speak very good English and has a neutral American accent for half the cost. So maybe he or she will be getting just 10 million just to teach English and do more classes. Um, so that you need to look out for. I'm still in India, so it's a bit noisy outside, so forgive me, because I'm just taking a pause from Vietnam as because I'm just trying to look for, English teaching is all right. If you do it for 1 year, for 2 years, it's all right. Gain some experience. But the way I see it is like most of my fellow teachers, um, they did not stick long. I mean, they just did some teaching in Vietnam for 2 years, and then they went to Korea, or they went to Taiwan, they went to China. So it's just that, if you're going to just fixate yourself that, oh, I'm just going to be teaching English in Vietnam for the rest of my life, you're going to be, um, then that's the wrong thinking, right? Sorry to say that that's not how it's going to work out for you. So yeah, I mean, especially for native and non-native teachers, like, so of course, so like if there are some Indian teachers, if you want to go to Vietnam to teach English, it's not easy. I remember, like I used to see sometimes on, um, oh, sorry, when I actually had my private tutoring business, I was contacted by this Indian girl, and she was doing teaching in remote cities in Vietnam. She showed me some videos where she's teaching around in a remote classroom. I mean, in a like a in a remote city in Vietnam, but it's just that's how she had to slog it out. That way, I was lucky because I was teaching in Ho Chi Minh State. I was teaching in Ho Chi Minh City. I was not teaching in secluded locations or so. But I know that for me, my teaching game is pretty much up, because I can see that it's becoming much harder and harder for foreign teachers to get English teaching jobs in Vietnam. And of course, if you're looking for getting English teaching jobs in Thailand, um, it may be easier for you if you're a native teacher. Because, like, getting an English teaching job in Thailand is still very much catered to native teachers. But I think it's going to be much easier for you if you're a native teacher to get English teaching jobs in Thailand, because getting the work permit and everything is not going to be very difficult. But in Vietnam, getting a work permit is is a very complicated process, and it's getting much harder. And of course, you have a lot of these checkings going around in the school, just to make sure that the teachers, they have the proper qualifications, they have the right visas and everything. And I think it's a wrong move. It's a wrong way. I mean, like, if you are planning to come to Vietnam, and especially if you're a non-native teacher, and if you're coming from a non-native country, and if you're planning to come to Vietnam on a tourist visa, on that 90-day visa, and thinking that it's going to be easy for you to get an English teaching job, um, I wouldn't recommend that for sure. Um, I suggest that if you do get an offer from a school, um, while you're in your home country, then that's a different story altogether. Then I think it's better for you to go to Vietnam and teach English. But taking the the guessing route or the gambling route, like maybe she's a teacher from India, or some couples from India want to, packing their bags, keeping their resumes, and going to Vietnam, thinking that, oh, it's going to be, I'm going to go on that 90-day visa and I'm going to get some teaching job. It's going to be very difficult for you, because you don't, and like, like the Indian accent, majority, it's a bit heavy one, right? So, but also, like I said, I was lucky because I had the American bachelor's degree from the U.S. college. I even got it notarized from the U.S. embassy in Vietnam. So I'm not sure if 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 you're going to be having that kind of credential. I mean, especially if you're going from India or from any other non-native country. But I don't think that would be the best route. Um, so my request is, if you're looking for English teaching jobs in Vietnam or in Southeast Asia, I recommend apply from your home country. And if you get an interview, and if you pass the interview, and once you get a confirmed offer letter which you accept, then go. By all means, go. But if you're just going to come to Southeast Asia on a tourist visa and going to be applying for English teaching jobs, especially in Vietnam, I think it's going to be very hard for you, especially if you're a non native teacher. So think about it. I'm just giving you my personal advice. And of course, if you're like, I got this comment from some dude saying he wants to go to Vietnam. I mean, he's an Indian per guy. He wants to go to Vietnam with his family, and he wants to relocate over there. I'm not a visa agent, my dear. Contact a visa agent, get it done. The last thing I want is freeloaders. I provide a lot of value content on my video, and what pisses me off is that some of these people, they don't watch my YouTube videos regarding the teaching English and everything in Vietnam, and they just, I just tell them, have you watched the video? You're not watching it, and you're just trying to think that I'm just going to give you freebie advice. Why did I make all those videos? Why did I make all those teaching videos before, like teaching tips and everything, right? So yeah, first watch the videos, go to the playlists or whatever, check it out. Yeah, so that's all I want to say. Good luck with your English teaching ventures, but I don't think it's a very sustainable career in the long run, for sure. For native teachers and even for non-native teachers, especially in Vietnam, knowing that regulations keep on changing quite frequently, and knowing that English teaching may be just an option for students if they decide to take it or not, and knowing the fact that the schools can hire a local Vietnamese half the cost to teach English and cover more classes compared to a foreign teacher, because a foreign teacher may have um, some restrictions taking so many classes, and there's yada yada yada. So think it from that way. Think it from an employer standpoint of view, right? So yeah, let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Has it become very difficult now teaching English in Vietnam? And if what do you think about the teaching, the future? What do you think about the teaching market in 2025 for Vietnam and the rest of Southeast Asia? Let me know about all this. If you like watching this video, make sure to like my video. If you found this video to be informational, you can always buy me a coffee. And if you're traveling around in Southeast Asia and if you want to start a successful online business, which I think you should look into, is I recommend you check out this free webinar workshop. So, yeah, with that being said, you guys have a great evening. This was me, Sue Joy. Peace out.